Welcome back to another episode of Tides of Change. Each video takes a dozen hours to bring to life, so it would really help the channel if you could leave a like. And remember, members get early access to the next episode. Now then, back to the story. Picking up where we left off, you guys discovered the unicorn child that was withheld from the client. Cracktooth himself must have been mistreating the child in his own quarters, trying to figure out with his limited intelligence, when in his limited sober moments, to figure out how the unicorn horn process worked. The child was taken to the Echoes, which is considered the safest ship out of all of them here. Cracktooth still hasn't awoken. It's been a few days. He might be in a coma after what Roderick did to him. The Cracktooth crew is being retrained by Jareth. Jareth's duties has basically doubled his workload now because he's both trying to organize the other two ships, because Hadrian and Jackal are not really the organizational types. So Jareth is managing the inventory and bureaucracy of 3 ships now, while retraining a new crew. And also trying to help with taking care of the child. Yeah, the Shadow Captain. He's more like the Shadow Admiral at this point now. The unicorn child has a room to their own right next to Hadrian's, so right next to the captain. Jareth has helped make it more child friendly, more welcoming, so much more comfy. Spira has spent most of their time in the cabin making sure that the child's okay and that, if there's anything they can do to reassure them. You have spent most of your time in your room on the Echoes because, ow. However, your pain was rewarded. Question, how does your character sleep now? On their side, like the Buddhist monks, where they lean on one side? Or do you sleep on your belly? Or do you just use the tails as a cushion? How do you imagine your character sleeping?
Using the tails as a cushion because they're soft and fluffy.
True. All right, you've got a mobile
I gotta
bed.
deal with occasional numbness. Like how you sleep on your arm.
Yeah, I can imagine your character now just in a hammock, one of the more private rooms, so you're not with the whole crew. So yeah, you're surrounded by your fluffy tails as the hammock cuddle.
I have 6 pillows.
Exactly. However, your arm does hurt. Your ribs do hurt when you move. So yeah, you haven't really gone outside. The occasional rumble shakes the entire boat, but nobody seems to be freaking out about it, despite the strange rumblings that are going on outside. Perception. Give me perception.
Okay, perception.
Besides the rumblings of these earthquakes, you do hear a roar of someone in pain. In the far distance, coming from the woods, you hear this rumbling that then comes across. However, your character is not really has the energy to investigate this. So a few days go by and earthquakes cease. So whatever was causing it seems to have come to an end. But lying in bed for days on end would drive anybody mad and irritated.
Gotta get up. I can't keep laying here. I get up.
Okay, so you throw yourself out of your hammock. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts a bit, but it's not terrible. You notice that Spira has gotten really good at just base medical roles, base medical treatment. Thinking back to the first time you met Spira, they've come a long way in how they treated you. The way they treated you this time compared to day 1 is night and day. They've grown significantly. But during this moment, you still wonder why Spira didn't just use their ability on you. Were they using you for practice? What do you think about this?
Come to think of it, she wasn't that good before.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to think about your teammates. You've been on this adventure for non-stop for months now, being led from one place to another and one thing happening after the other. And now for the first time in this journey, you're stuck. You're still. And it feels strange because once you've gotten used to keeping a certain pace, not being able to make any progress must feel strange.
Well, I did enjoy the relaxation for a while, but after a while, I feel like I have to get up and move or train or do something physical. I'm restless right now.
Yeah, that's fair. So do you want to go above deck, or do you want to just explore the boat? Like, what is your character? What does Nyx feel like doing besides staying in this tiny room?
I'm going to explore the boat, see what else is happening right now.
All right, so do you grab your stuff, or?
I grab my stuff just in case.
Uh,
You never know what might happen.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pirate island after all. So probably wise to stay
Exactly.
armed. As you're exploring the boat, give me an investigation roll. Yeah, you notice that the boat is being reorganized. You can see that Jareth has already started implementing a new system for distributing the munitions, the supplies, so that every boat can operate independently, but at the same time is fully capable of responding to potential crises. So based on what happened to the ship before, in the gap between your adventures, where they got ambushed and just they lost track of their time because of the abyssal, they are making preparations here so that in the event that does occur and all three boats are caught by the song, at least every boat is capable of fleeing or saving the others. So yeah, essentially plugging up potential weaknesses. You do notice that there is a bit of a low supply on the actual physical cannonballs, but this might just be because it being a pirate island, everybody is hoarding them. So it might be difficult to, there's high demand on this island, but not as much supply. But the crew are busy, they're busy cleaning, they're busy moving boxes, and yeah, some of them recognize you, some of them are new faces that you haven't seen. So it might be that Hadrian and Jareth and Jackal are also getting some new recruits.
Now, I mean, I did hear a noise the other day. Can I at least walk to the direction of where I heard the noise? I'm still curious about that.
Okay, so based on your perception from before, you heard it coming from deep inland towards the forests. As you leave the boat, you see a couple of the crew waving to you, and they know that you can handle yourself. I mean, you took out a pirate captain on your own from their perspective. No help at all. No assistance whatsoever.
Okay. Thanks for the backup, guys.
As you're walking, you notice that the tree line is a little strange. The trees closest to the coastline they make sense. They seem quite tropical, or would suit the image of an island that you would have heard of during your days on the Celestial Den with your education. But the trees further inland seem a bit different. They seem like bigger, thicker, darker bark. It doesn't match the expectations for an island like this. Give me another investigation roll.
Okay.
Ooh, and we can also add in a spirit sense as well. Very nice. Holy. You immediately notice that the spirits of the forest developing here have a different sensation to them. They clearly are not of the same variety of the trees closer to the coastline. So it is very quick to deduce that these are either an invasive species or someone has been growing this forest on this island, which is a bit strange because pirates don't really grow forests. So
they're not known to be gardeners.
Exactly. Since you rolled 30, I will also add in that you do remember the brief mentioning during your time with the Monkey King and Galadorn, the unicorn leader, and the Fae, where they said that the unicorns, the Fae, and an elf worked together to create the sanctuary circle. So the Fae created the circle, but the elf changed the forest land within that bioluminescent forest on Tarnithia. That they said that the elves have the ability to manipulate plants, and that they had a mutual friend come in and essentially create the land space that became sanctuary within the circle. So it could possibly be an elf on this island. Not guaranteed, but that seems to be the most likely explanation. Also, you notice, since you were using your spirit sense and your investigation skills, you noticed that someone from the crew was following you.
Oh?
They haven't noticed that you've noticed, but you did pick up on the footsteps of somebody from the crew, because you've heard, being stuck in your room, you've heard everyone's footsteps. That's the one downside to your new blessing, is that you can hear everything.
I can't turn off my ears.
Yeah, exactly. So you definitely know that these footsteps are of an ally, not an enemy.
All right. I know you're there. You can come out.
You hear the bushes rustle. They don't come out.
Fine. You can stay there. And then I just keep walking.
Well, they don't stay hidden for long. As you pretend to walk, you hear the bush rustle again, and then the sound of their foot hitting a stone, and you hear a they trip and stumble and fall where you were standing before. They like tumble down and land where you were before, so you walked away at just the perfect time. So, with their face planted in the dirt, you spot a man that is quite skinny. His clothes are quite dirty, and he has 2 brown kitsune ears. You recognize instantly that this was the guy who tried to jump you before. But you do remember that you heard these footsteps on the boats before, so he was part of Cracktooth's crew.
Ah, it's you again.
Oh,
I see you.
It's not what you think. As he like raises both his hands to prove he's not holding a dagger this time. He's like, it's not what you think. I swear. And he bows again, just plants his face straight back into the mud. You rolled like nat 20s on your intimidation on the crew before.
All right. You can get up.
What
are you doing out here?
Well, no, it's not about your tails this time, I swear. Although you see he's like distracted as he watches your tails flickering in frustration, as he's just clearly like the envy is on his face, but he's doing his best to hide it, where he's just like, one of those is mine, isn't it? He actually mutters that under his breath, like, one of those is mine, isn't it? But you hear everything. He doesn't know your hearing is that good. So he's like, one of those is mine. But the reason I came, the reason I followed was, one, I wanted to make sure that you were okay out here. Not that you can't handle yourself. I saw firsthand. Yeah, but it's always good to have an extra pair of eyes when you're on Froz. It's not recommended to go walking alone. I also wanted to, and he shuffles a little bit. He's standing up now. He sort of shuffles awkwardly on the spot. He's just like, I just wanted to thank you for beating Cracktooth. It's just like,
oh, you don't have to thank me for that. He had it coming.
Yeah, but I would have never been able to like have stood up against him the way you did. You actually had the courage to face him head on rather than just taking the beating. And then he looks at your arm and he's like, poor choice of words. I'm sorry. He like is about to bow one more time, like about to head back to the dirt.
I just chuckle at him.
But he asks, he's like, so what brought you to Froz?
Well, you know that unicorn child you kept on your ship with Cracktooth? We're trying to find the rest of them.
There are more? That was what was in the boxes then. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but... And he rolls his composure. Because, I mean, his crew delivered them, but no one in the party has been bothered to ask the crew.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, he goes silent when was about to spill the beans, where he's like, but we...
But you?
You can roll for intimidation. It doesn't have to be, it's not gonna be very hard because you already, like, have succeeded so much before. He mumbles a little bit, but he goes, but if Cracktooth wakes up, like, well, he might kill me.
Oh, you don't have to worry about Cracktooth anymore.
Fair. He took quite a beating from both you and the very brave and powerful Thruppe.
And I just roll my eyes and shake my head. I don't say anything. I don't want to shatter that image of their brave hero who beat.
Yeah, because from their perspective, he was an agent on the same level as the captain and then beat the living daylights out of the captain. So from their perspective, they're just like, don't mess with Roderick. He's badass from their perspective.
I just keep quiet and shake my head. Roger can have this one.
Phrasing, Nick. Phrasing. My goodness. No. Roderick is going through some character development. His Nepo baby days are gonna have to be behind him, regrettably. But yeah, he's like, okay, So the captain, after we were waiting at Froz, the Satari fleet came by, and well, we sailed alongside them, and one of the ships from that fleet broke off to meet with us, and this green Kelpie lady came on board, and she was, whoa, you do not want to mess with her. She spoke to the captain again as if like on the same level as him, and the captain, he tried to be a bit playful, but she threatened to chop off his tails, even though she wasn't even a kitsune. So, yeah, don't mince words around that one. She delivered the boxes to us, and the captain told us that if any of us opened the boxes, we would be dragged by the boats back to Froz. So none of us wanted to risk looking in the boxes. It was only after we sailed far out to the middle of the ocean, actually. Let's see, would he even know where this is? Just give me a second. No, he wouldn't know where it is, but he would say we sailed for a few days away from Froz. That was when we dropped anchor in the middle of nowhere, and the Abyssal came climbing from the depths. They climbed up the anchor and aboard the ship. At first, I thought we were being attacked, and the crew was getting ready for a fight, but the captain waved his hand, and an Abyssal with long tendrils greeted him, and they very quietly, and I've never seen the captain that afraid before. He delivered the boxes and made an excuse that one of them got lost in a storm, which we only found out later was the unicorn child. That's when he revealed to us that the boxes, we thought maybe it was just like one of the boxes had the child. We didn't know all the boxes had the children. Like, yeah, the Abyssal took the boxes and they went their way. They went back down into the depths, dragging the boxes with them. I don't know if the child survived that, but they took them with them.
First they're kidnapping crews, now they're also working with transporting the unicorn children.
But that's all we really know. The captain bragged about us afterwards. But whenever anyone tried to find out more about the Kelpie and the Abyssal ladies, he was tight-lipped. He was not happy. Turns out he got along much better with the Roderick guy, but we all know that that's changed since then. My real name is Ken Sakurai.
Ah, Ken Sakurai.
You would know this. His family is a Ryoma in the same line as yours. So both yours and his family answer to the Akari, and they answer to the Tsurugi. So yours and his families are technically on the same level, but you don't know if he's a branch member or whatnot. But yeah, he says the name, but he doesn't give any sense of grandeur or anything to it. He's just like, yeah, I'm Ken Sakurai, as if he was a commoner.
Like, hold up, how did you become a pirate?
It's not really that complicated. I ran away. I was tired of fighting in the clan fights, and I'm from the branch family, so I knew that my life was going to be spent serving the main family or dying in a battle somewhere serving some of the other higher families, and I wanted more from my life, so I saw a chance to get on a boat and set sail. Unfortunately, I wound up here, and it wasn't long before I lost my tail.
Oh, I look at him sympathetically, as I also wanted to escape the island and see what was more out there.
If the winds had been different, you would have been in his shoes.
Oh, no. Oh my god.
He asks, why are you out here?
Well, I really wanted to get off that island. Though it was not by choice of how I got off the island. I just wanted to see what was out there instead of constantly having to see people getting their tails stolen and having to constantly be in war with each other. I wanted change. I wanted to know more to this life than what was there. And my dear friend, I wanted to continue what he had started, what things that he didn't get to see. I wanted to see it for him.
I understand. I think my adventure has not been as grand as yours and how I hoped it to plan. I feel that after I help out with the Howler crew, I think I'm gonna go home though. I do strangely enough start to miss it. He's had enough.
He's had enough adventure. He wants to go home.
He turns to leave, but as he does, he looks back at you and he says, I never got your name. You don't have to give him your full name.
It's Nix.
Oh.
Nix Makoto. Yeah, he gave me his full name. I might as well give him mine.
His eyes widen briefly when you say that, and it looks like he's about to say something, but he changes his mind at the last minute. And he goes, I thought there was something about your armor, although it seems that quite a few pieces of it are missing. You know that quite a few kitsune armor comes through here. It's one of the great trades because Frost is just north of the Celestial Den. In fact, a couple of sets came through recently. Cracktooth was very interested in them, but he got frustrated because the one piece that matched his size was snatched up, apparently by a non-kitsune. Maybe there's a strange collector out there, but yeah, it got snatched up. But there was also claims that it had a pair, and yeah, it just looked very similar to the pieces that you have on yourself. So yeah, it looks like your armor may have passed through here at some point. I don't know where it is now. I just thought I'd let you know. And he waves as he starts heading back to the boat.
My eyes light up. I remember.
Yeah.
That Jiro's stuff got sold.
Yep, and it passed through here along with your full set from the battle. So Jiro's armor and your armor passed through Frost.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but somebody was interested in buying it. Cracktooth basically had your armor for a bit, but got pissed off because it was too small for them. But if it had fit, it would have been hilarious if he was wearing your armor when you met him the first time.
Oh. Would have stripped it off him like you don't deserve to wear this.
First the tails, then the clothes. Jeez. But yeah, so your armor passed through, but it seems a mysterious buyer is interested in things kitsune, so they purchased Jiro's armor. That is a plot line we will investigate later. I like setting up things way in advance so that when
that was way in the beginning.
Yep.
I was like, is that from the very beginning?
Ken leaves. He just waves, and he said
Don't worry,
everything.
Ken. I think you're enough.
And he just mutters, he's like, maybe if I had a tail or two. But no, he's very grateful for everything you've done. He said what he wanted to say. He asked what he wanted to ask. And now that he knows that you're a Makoto, and that, in a different timeline, the two of you may have been fighting side by side, for the Tsurugi, he himself is thinking, how life could have been different if he'd stayed at home. But yeah, he leaves, and that leaves you to yourself. When you look, when you observe your surroundings, you notice that, yeah, your armor pieces that Jiro had to remove while you were unconscious and drowning in the ocean, he used your armor and his armor to buy passage onto the boat. So the Thrope who was basically bribed with the armor sets. You realize in hindsight that the guy who had Jiro's armor must have also had your armor hidden just out of view. Like, it was so close, and yet
Oh my god.
he locked up when he saw you. He was just like, "Oh yeah, I got this fair and square." But give me a spirit sense roll. You notice that over the past several months, ever since you learned the imbuement training, that your spirits have been naturally gathering in the pieces of your armor that you still have remained. And it seems that it's almost as if the spirits themselves have formed a habit of naturally resting there, which means that the longer you use imbuement on items, the more of a personal connection those items have to you, which has the potential to unlock new abilities or retention. So similar to how your special sword still has these fantastic abilities that were forged into it and have been retained for over 1,000 years, it seems that imbuement is a method of achieving similar results with your own weapons and armor. But quite a significant but, because when you use spirit sense and you notice this with your armor, you notice the lack of spirits coming from the Makoto sword. Do you draw your sword? Do you observe it? What do you do?
I draw it to observe it to see why is there a lack of spirits coming from the sword.
As you draw your sword, a strange chill goes across your arm, and it feels silent. It's dead quiet. Normally, there's a certain amount of warmth to it, a sensation, not a physical heat, but rather a feeling that it is right to hold. But right now, your hand almost wants to let go of it as you're holding it in your hand.
Uh-oh. What's going on with my sword? It feels so strange.
Give me another intelligence investigation roll quickly. Nat 20, let's go. Okay, you realize immediately that if there was anyone who might know, then the only possible people who could answer this question would, one, be another kitsune who might have knowledge about this sword, which seems unlikely, but the other most likely type of person who would understand this would be one of the other species that was involved in the forging of this sword. So either another seraph, like Arista or Zenai, but reaching them might be a little bit tricky. So the only other option is if there is a Quay blacksmith. So if there is a Quay on this island, specifically a Quay blacksmith, then there is a chance that they might understand why the sword has gone and undergone a change. Fortunately, there is a person who left quite recently who's knowledgeable about this island. Go get him!
Ken! I go chase after Ken, running in the direction he went.
Yeah, so it doesn't take far. As you're exiting the tree line, you spot Ken walking a bit lost in his own thoughts. So he doesn't notice you coming up right behind him. Yeah, you have an option to either call out to him or just grab him on like the shoulder and spin him around.
I would have grabbed him and spin him around.
Whoa! Oh, hi, Nix. Wait. How can I help? What's up? Is everything okay?
Quickly, do you know any Quay around here? Specifically, Quay blacksmiths on this island.
He's like, yes. You see his mind is like going all over the place. He's trying to like understand why you're so panicked, and he's like, there is one, because the Quay from Tarnithia, well, they don't really come out this far, but they do have some islands along these parts of the sea. So I heard of a Quay, but they're on the northern side of Froz. That's several days worth of walking.
I guess I have no choice but to.
You have a much faster method of travel now.
Oh, right. A little light bulb goes up.
Does that help? Is there anything else, Master Nix? And you get like a shudder as you remember Jiro's words.
Oh no.
You remember like Jiro always called you Master Nix, but you see that he said
No.
that out of respect.
Don't do this to me right now.
he was trying to-
No. Thank you for your help so far.
And he realizes that through your body language that he shouldn't have like said it that way, and he's like, "Thank you, Nix."
And
he
I was gonna say, like, in the future, you could just call me Nix.
got it. And he turns around and he's just like, "What the hell?" It's like, I just can I not do anything right? It's just like what he's thinking.
Oh no, poor kid.
He
Don't
started
worry,
by-
kid, you're enough.
Yeah. Ken leaves. He's gone back to the book. You are on your own. You have 6 tails.
Time to do cloud step.
Yeah, it has been many, many, many years since then. How many years was it? Wait, your character was...
I was
Yeah.
young.
Yeah,
I didn't even have my own tail yet.
Yeah, it's been at least a decade since you got to experience the cloud stepping with your parents. You are going to have to remember from your childhood. So give me another intelligence roll. What were those hand seals again? Because it was like a core memory that was formed. You remember the shapes of the hands. The DM does not, so I'm just going to say that you remember the shapes of the hands.
I did not write that down either, unfortunately.
Yeah, you perform the hand seals, and you feel the spirits gathering from your tails, pulling towards your arms and feet, and nothing happens immediately. The island is completely surrounded by the circular storm, so it's almost as if the island is trapped in the eye of a hurricane. So these big dark clouds are rotating around, and this is a big island as well. So it's a huge wall of clouds that are going around, but you can't remember what your parents did exactly after the hand seals, but you do feel it worked because your hands, the sensation of the spirits in your hands and feet are definitely different to before. What do you do?
Huh, this feels right, but nothing is happening.
You can try
And
something.
like look up. What did my parents do after this?
You vaguely remember your mum reaching her hand up, but then after that, it was like whoosh.
She reached up with her hand. Do I have to grab a cloud?
So,
So then I try.
So-
I try to mimic what my mom did.
okay, so as you reach forward with your hand, the spirits gather and shoot outwards, forming a thin line. If you were using spirit sense, you would see a thin line reaching forward and connecting with the wild spirits of the storm. The storm itself was moving, but that's not what drags you. As soon as it makes a connection, the spirits want to pull you and the cloud together like a rubber band. So you immediately feel your body lighten, and you can still feel the weight of your clothes and your swords. But yeah, you feel weightless as you're suddenly dragged forward with immense speed towards the cloud line at the exact angle you held your hand out. You are approaching the cloud with frightening speed.
Was it like this before?
Yes, it was, but you don't remember what happened next because your parents grabbed onto a peaceful cloud, a happy little drifting cloud. You just grabbed onto a hurricane storm. Give me acrobatics. This is so funny.
Acrobatics, let's go. Whoosh. Oh my gosh, acrobatics. Just acrobatics?
Dexterity and acrobatics, yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I just went whoosh into the air.
As you're flying through the sky and heading towards the edge of the storm that you'd grabbed, you raise both your feet. Your arm still feels as if it's being pulled towards, so your arm, and I'm assumed you used your uninjured arm for this. So, yeah.
Of course! My arm's gonna get wrong.
Your arm is being held almost like a fishing line. So you angle your body so that your feet will connect with the cloud first. As soon as your feet connect with the cloud, they start sliding along it and the cloud parts way like a stream. And you just ride this cloud, creating an arc amongst the floof as it parts ways. And you just create this huge arch going all the way up along. And you're riding perpendicular to the circular storm. And you're just holding on with your spirits forward, pulling you almost like a sleigh along the edge of this storm, and it feels amazing. Like, whee! Yeah. when you look down, you just see the whole island, and it looks far smaller from the height that you've already gained from this. But yeah, you look up and you see that there just doesn't seem to be an end to this circular storm. Like, you already noticed with this height that it's getting difficult to breathe. So you imagine that even with Cloud Step, trying to get over this storm might not be the greatest for your life expectancy. But for now, it is fun. It is fun, and it is very strange because it's not like a normal storm, right? It's not this. I described it as a hurricane, but there's no thunder, there's no intense violence. It's as if the clouds itself were being churned in a giant circle. You can't pass through it because you're using Cloud Step, but if you were to try and sail through this storm, you wouldn't have any vision. It would be like pitch dark. You wouldn't have any sense of direction. It would be absolute chaos. So it's not violent, but it's also a barrier of sorts, and it's a wild phenomenon. Ever since Sorors was affected by the Great Change, there have been weird magical weather phenomenon all over the world. So it's a world that's overflowing with magic, and this circular storm is one such example of that. It's a storm that traps people for days or weeks on end. Sometimes days, sometimes weeks, sometimes even months. But yeah, you are riding high. The sky is clear right at the top of the eye of the storm, so you can see the bright sunny day right above, and then the dark clouds, you're just riding on them, and it's almost as if surfing. Yeah. So yeah. Give me another dexterity roll. It also helps that the storm is rotating in a counterclockwise direction, so it is pulling you towards the north of the island. So yeah, just riding the storm is already making great speed. Normally with Cloud Step, you have to jump from cloud to cloud. So you extend with one arm to one cloud, and then once you reach that one, you reach out for another cloud. And with getting precise timing, you can hop, like you can jump, 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 jump. You know, when you first use it, sometimes it's like jump, stop, look for the next one, aim, pull, jump. But once you master it, you'll be able to cover huge distances by essentially gliding like this. But yeah, riding the storm. Storm Rider Nix.
Storm Rider.
But yeah, you rolled exactly the same acrobatics. Okay, so yeah, the childish part of your mind wonders just how far you can get away with this. So you pull with your arm forward and you lean back with your feet. So you slide off of the cloud doing a flip, but then when you bring your arm forward again, it pulls you right back down towards the cloud. So yeah, you can do flips and stuff while riding the storm.
Oh my god, you do tricks.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah, now wait for season 3 when you're battling sky creatures while sliding around clouds with your sword with one hand. That's gonna be so cool.
Oh my gosh, when flips in the air.
It still takes a while because Bros is a large island, so you have to go almost 500 kilometers. Like it's actually about 1 square that you travel, so it's still a huge distance. But you know, the storm is doing all the work. You just have to hold on.
Hang on.
Exactly. And what the beauty about this is that when you want to go back, you just ride the storm on the opposite side. So you know, you just stick with the counterclockwise and do a full circle back. So yeah, it still takes a long time, but eventually you reach the northernmost side of the island itself. You spot that there are some settlements on this side. It is a pirate island, and it makes sense that there would be supplies in both the north and southern parts of it. So yeah, you eventually realize that you're gonna have to let go of the cloud. So what do?
Well, here go.
Right. So you let go with your arms, and you jump. You kick off of the cloud as well because your feet are also still attached to the cloud. So as you kick off, you start falling, but it's a gradual process. You can feel the weight of your clothes and your sword, like at their full weight, but your body feels lighter than air, metaphorically. It's still denser, but you start like drifting down with speed. You remember the first battle you had where your parents used the Cloud Step with the kitsune fireballs? Yeah, you think back to how this is going to be a fantastic like ability to show off to the rest of the team the next time there's a big outdoor combat. You can pull off the same trick that your parents taught you all those months ago. Yeah, but your Nyx is also hit with a bit of sadness because, you know, you're thinking about your parents
Yeah,
again.
I haven't seen my parents in forever, except
Yeah.
from that one vision.
But you are a
At least they're
step
doing
closer.
okay.
You are a step closer to them because they had 5 tails each. You've never seen them with 6 tails. So in a sense, you've kind of surpassed them.
Wow.
You come drifting down. By this point, it's already past midday. So it took you like most of the entire morning to get through it. It's another pirate settlement and nobody here knows who you are. You come drifting in from the sky as if a god were descending. But thankfully, people don't usually look up. So you can choose
He really does.
Yeah, so you can choose to land like on the edge of the town rather than in the middle of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the edge.
All
I
right.
don't want to be asked questions on what we're.
The people of this town, the pirates of this town, they are also a menagerie of various different species. Some you've never met before, some you definitely have seen, such as the Thrope. It seems a lot of the Thrope tend to set out towards the sea. But yeah, there's still no sign of a quay. You're not sure what they look like because you've never seen one before. You heard Zenai describe it before that the quay have 13 up to 13 metallic scutes. So in the same way that the kitsune can have up to 9 tails, the quay they have these metallic shell pieces essentially that they carry near their body at all times. So that's your only clue that you have to run on.
Let's see. Let me ask the nearest vendor.
All right, you go up to the nearest vendor, and a sketchy looking guy he is, because he's just like, oh, looking to sell, I'm looking to buy and sell. What do you want to buy? What do you want to sell? Those are some pretty good looking swords. I can give you 15 gold for them both.
I'm actually looking for a blacksmith.
Oh.
Can you tell me where one is? Especially one of the quay kind.
Oh, if only I had something shiny to jog my memory.
I roll my eyes. Let's see. Can I pass him over 1 piece of gold so far?
Oh, yeah, there is one in this town somewhere, but I just can't seem to remember where he is and what his name is.
I sigh again. I scoot over 2 more pieces of gold.
He coughs a little bit.
I pass over.
Oh, now I remember. So that was what, 6 gold?
Yes.
Ah, yes, now I remember. Good old Bao. Good old Bao. He, you can find him and he starts, he's like, I only give the best service. He takes out a wet piece of like tissue looking like paper and with a piece of charcoal from the nearest fire pit. He draws a very rough looking map of the town and puts like a splot. Like he breaks the piece of charcoal, putting the splot where this bow guy should be. And he's like, only the best service. Thank you so much for shopping with us. And he hands you the wet towel with chalk on it. I mean, cold scribbles. Pirate level service.
I sigh and try to follow this wet piece of this wet towel.
With your extreme perception, you hear him laughing his butt off to his friends when he thinks you're out of earshot. Everyone knows where Bao is. Newbies are so easy. You got scammed. You got scammed.
Oh my god.
You realize now, like, as you make your way across, because it's a busy
Pirate.
trading part. Yeah, there's lots of people selling, lots of people shouting to get attention, a lot of people fighting. So there's a lot of noise that you pick up and your ears can pick up on all of this. But you realize now that the reason why everyone knows where Bao is because you can hear the tink, tink, tink of a blacksmith's hammer in the distance.
Pirates.
You live and learn, right? This is the experience. This is why you left your home, was to learn these tricks and to not get scammed.
True. I am very naive.
You came from a high trust society.
Trust
Okay.
and honor. Now it's like
What is that here? Is it something you can eat?
exactly.
You approach the sound, and when you reach where the blacksmith should be, you notice that the individual who's working on it doesn't look like a quay. If anything, they seem to have almost reptilian-like features as they're banging on a sword. They look up at you and they cock their head a little bit to the side. They're like, "Can I help you?"
Oi, are you Bao?
Oh, Master Bao. Yes, I am. Just a moment. He puts down his hammer and the sword that he was working on, and he goes into the shop, and there's a bit of rustling, and then he comes back out and he's like, "Are you sure you want to talk to Mr. Bao, Master Bao?
Yes, I demand to see Mr. Bao.
Do you have time to see Mr. Bao? Because Mr. Bao always has time to talk with people, but not everybody has the patience to talk with a quay."
Oh no.
He laughs a little bit and he's like, "Well, with my ancestral memories, I've got a lot of patience built in." You can tell he's dragon.
I need to speak with him now.
Okay, I let them know that he's got a guest and he seems happy, I think. It's hard to tell. He picks up his hammer as he's about to get ready to start banging away. As you enter into this home, you first see lots of smithy equipment. You see a fire pit for heating up the metals. You see spare anvils and tools everywhere. But you get past the workshop and you brush aside a string of beads. That is a makeshift door for the area. It leads into a much warmer looking home. The walls are made out of carved stone and they seem to absorb as much of the sunlight as possible. So the whole room is warm to the touch. It's almost as if the quay uses the heat of the forge to also keep his room warm. For you, it's a little too warm, like borderline unpleasant, but for a turtle species, it's fantastic.
It's kind of stuffy in here.
Yeah, you will get a bit sweaty because you got 6 tails as well, but you push forward and you see a lot of the furniture is carved woods and the stones. It's very homely. The walls have shelves carved out of the stone, so there are little decorative items. There are various decoration pieces, weapons, a whole variety of things. You can tell that each and every piece is incredibly intricate, and you also, even without using spirit sense, can pick up that all of these items carry spirits of some sort. So there's a reason why the dragon outside called him Master Bao.
I see.
So as you enter through the house, eventually you spot him. You see this very old looking man. His skin is wrinkled and is turning a darkish gray. There are definitely traces of turtle-like features. He's got a bit of a sharp nose. His eyes are a bit larger than normal, but they're also half closed because he's quite old and frail now. And yeah, he looks up at you and goes, "Oh, visitor. Hello there, little fox far from home."
Hi, are you Bao?
I might be Bao. I could be Bao. I once was Bao, but am I still? Hard to say. I mean,
No.
in ages past, a mind might slip, and with bodies hurt, new parts will grow, so a Bao today might not be a Bao tomorrow. Quay love talking in circles, I'm sorry. They love
Now I
this stuff.
understand the rhymes and riddles now.
Mhm.
Well, if you are Bao right now, go and take out my sword and place it on both the palms of my hand. Do you think you can have a look at my sword? Something's off about it.
To look at the sword, not everything is seen, for sometimes looking without the eyes reveals what lies beneath. He approaches it. You can see his eyesight's also not very good, but when he reaches out with his hands, he's using spirit sense as well. He sighs a little bit and he goes, "Rare a day it is to see an item in this home of mine of skill forged far less than mine. He thinks about the history of this sword. He's fully aware that this was made by a Quay that was at a level he will never reach, especially given his old age.
Oof.
He thinks about it and he looks at you and he sighs. He says, the issue lies not with the sword, but within the hands of the one that holds.
I'm the problem?
Are you a problem? He asks. Well, a problem is a puzzle, and a puzzle is always fun with the right attitude. He gets out of his large chair, and you see that he uses these metallic scoots. He has about 10 of them. They float around him, and they help lift him up out of his chair. So he struggles to walk, but he uses the metal scoots that float around his body to help push his old body as he shuffles towards the kitchen. You hear the sounds of pots and pans and stuff as he's basically making you some tea. You might as well take a seat.
I take a seat and look down at the sword, trying to find out, like, I'm the problem? How can this be?
After several minutes, much longer than it should have taken to make tea, he eventually returns with a tray and he passes a cup to you, and he sits down and says, a problem within is not alone. We all go through processes unknown. In land of old, I had a home, a forge where magic did roam. I forged a blade they said was dark and cast me out no longer mark. Now on Frozer's shores, I find my stay, where Thrope and Kitsune secret sway. The ocean floor with danger teams, not just the city of abyssal dreams. How sweet their leaders sing of peace, but in their servitude, rewards are fleeting. The irony thick, for those are cheating. A creature darker lurks on me. I hammer now within this place, my fate uncertain, heart apace. In riddles deep my tale unfurls, a blacksmith's curse amidst the pearls. And he takes a sip of his tea.
Just trying to process everything he said, and just like, and I just go, and just sip my tea.
Yeah. Well, that's enough about me, though. He says, about your problem. Yeah, that was his backstory.
I caught on. I was like,
Long story short, he forged something that horrified the other Quay, and he was kicked
them
out.
Off.
Yeah,
Yep.
And he's been here ever since.
Try.
But yeah, he smiles a little bit as he thinks back. And he goes, you know that many of your kind come to this place seeking hope, but all they find is a more painful way to view the world. And you think back about Ken. Like,
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I thought about Ken.
yeah, the Thrope's hearts are wide and pure. They sail the seas in search of gold and fortunes bold. But one day you realize that the fortune is growing old as he sips another one of his teas. Yeah, so even though he got kicked out, he's happy here. Because he gets to meet people like you.
That is quite nice. I'm glad that you're happy here.
My apprentice still has much work to do, so I can't quite kick the bucket yet.
Now, about the situation I am in. How do you suggest I go about this? This sword does not feel warm to me. It feels rather cold, as if I'm now a stranger to it.
It seems you're already on the right path with my little nudge, but to answer a question to a fun little puzzle is to steal the fun, and I am no thief. Although, I cannot say the same for you.
And then I look back at my tails.
I say, so as you do this, he puts his hand on your blade again. He says, why does your blade in silence sleep, refusing service, granting no keep? Once forged with intent so wrong, a tail thief's craft, it stings along. The metal shuns such tainted deeds, a curse upon the one who leeches. Now the silence lies, heart dismayed, no more to serve or be obeyed.
Oh my gosh. Ever since that duel where I got these three tails, my sword has never felt right. Has my sword served its purpose?
I sense that, similar to you and I, the spirits in your armor hides, and in my craft and in my tea, our passions, hopes, and dreams do lie. And who can say what a maker's wishes, but from what they leave behind?
What they leave behind.
You can give me an intelligence roll with investigation, and I will give you a clue.
Okay.
You remember what you were thinking about earlier this morning when you were standing in the forest just before you noticed the blade? You were looking at your armor and you were thinking about how your spirits that you've been imbuing for self-protection have also started to rest naturally within the blade that can let it last for much longer even without you having to refresh the imbuement. And you realize that when crafting magical items or using imbuement, the spirits, the thoughts, the feelings, the passion of the soul of its maker is placed into the item. And just as how your armor is becoming uniquely yours, responding to your spirits and your wishes and your desires to protect, this sword was also forged with a purpose in mind. And you remember the story that Zenai told you of the reason why this sword was made.
I see. This sword wants me to carry out why it's created its true purpose.
Do you remember the story? I can give you a refresher. I can give you a refresher if you don't remember the story. It was like 6 months ago.
Flashback.
Yeah.
Flashback.
Yeah. So Zenai said that these swords that were made by Kotaro Makoto was a legendary kitsune of 9 tails. And he had 2 other friends, the Kwei, his name was Hang, who had 13 scoots, and a feral, a seraph who had 6 wings. So they essentially reached the peak of each of their species. And these 3 friends worked together using the foxfire and the seraph feathers and the Kwei's forging skills to create these swords to end the tail theft on the Celestial Den. And you just used that very sword to steal tails.
Oh no. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I did ask you in the duel. I was like, which sword do you want to use? You went special sword. I was like, okay, no hesitation. I did ask.
You did.
I can see you're frustrated, but frustration is always a first step, for it is an identification of what grips at your heart. The Kwei tries to ease up a little bit on his riddling here because he can see you're a bit pained by this.
I went against the sword's wishes, and I wonder if there's any way I can go back to fulfilling its purpose. Because I do want to end tail death. These duels, we shouldn't be doing them. There must be another way, and this sword has shown me the way.
He smiles a little bit as you're saying this out loud as he sips his tea, and he says, "To mend a bond twixt you and blade, a restitution must be made. Return the tail that was purloined, the rightful owner's joy regained. A grateful heart the balance brings, and peace to the metal as it sings. Forgiveness sought, a curse breaks free, your sword awakes with loyalty."
To give up one of my tails?
He nods when you say that.
I suppose I can do that. I took them from someone who didn't deserve them. It's only right for me to give it back to its rightful owner.
And thus the thief becomes the savior. He puts down his teacup and he says, I think that will be all. I'm going to take a nap now. And he pulls the blanket back up.
My work here is done.
I mean, he's an old man. He's a really old man. He loves this conversation. He wasn't even expecting to sell something. He's basically just alive so that he can teach everything he knows to his apprentice, and then he's gonna die. Like, that's basically it.
Oh my.
Yeah, he got kicked out of his homeland because he made a mistake in his youth, and he spent his entire life on this island, basically helping other people who've also been misfits and people kicked out of their homes. So he's been helping the pirates stay alive. He feels a bit of kinship with people who are lost and confused and trying to find their way in the world, because that's how he was when he got kicked out. He also knows that it's time to go. You know, his life is near its end. And this dragon that showed up one day wanted to learn from a great master. And yeah, essentially he was just like, well, I can't die until my student has at least learned everything. So yeah, but he doesn't really work the forge anymore. Like, his last few pieces are on the wall here. And he was just like really happy to have seen your sword. Like, that was definitely like one of his highlights right before the end. Was he actually got to see the sword. He gets like a pang of guilt that maybe he could have like tried a bit harder to like make a sword of this quality. You know, like, he was almost there. He got 10 out of the 13 scoots. So, you know, he a part of him was thinking if he tried just a little bit more, he may have been able to have reached like the true master level, like the pinnacle.
Oh.
But yeah, he's content though. He's content. He's already fast asleep.
He's content.
He's not dead yet. He's just enjoying his little warm cave.
This is his retirement.
Also, the Quay live really long, so like for him, like it might be like close to his death, but it still might be several years.
Oh.
Yeah, close for him, but for you, it's like you got plenty of time, dude. You have your answer. The sword went silent because the owner's spirits rejected you for violating the very reason the sword was forged in the first place.
I know that now. I think I must make this right.
You also noticed in the riddle that he gave on the second part of the riddle where he spoke about returning it to the rightful owner and also making amends with the individual, so their joy regained. So it's not that you have to give all your tails away, because Cracktooth is not the original owner, nor is he going to be happy to see you. But
yeah, of course.
but as long as you make like a proper effort to make amends for what was done by accident, then the spirits of the sword should show forgiveness.
Just kidding. Okay, because that's the only guy I had in mind. I was like, Cracktooth. Why does it have to be just Cracktooth?
No, I'm not going to take away all your tails after that. Essentially the best way I could put it is that the spirits are pouty with you right now and giving you the silent treatment. So you have to make like a peace offering with a bar of chocolate and be like, fine, have one tail.
Yeah. Yes, I was going to give Ken back his tail. Well, it's time to go back.
There's still anything if you want to pick up in this town as well, because this is a fresh town. You know, they've got like lots.
Yeah, this is a new town. Yeah. Let's see what's around here. Who knows? Maybe I can find another piece of my armor.
Give me investigation.
Investigation. Let's see, 5 and a mental stat, right?
Let's go with wit this time, because after all those riddles and rhymes, you're you're a little bit more awake now, like trying to like. Oh, wait, never mind.
Oh my god! Never mind. I'm mentally tired.
Yeah, you get scammed again. You get tricked into another shell game like type thing, and you lose some gold. Give me a luck roll. You do find a couple of pieces of kitsune armor, and one piece that definitely looks compatible with the damaged part that you had from when the cracked scimitar entered your ribs. So you can, with confidence, you do feel like you could swap that piece out on yours. You also do notice an extra shoulder piece from your original armor. So you do find a piece of your armor, like from the battle, but the one that replaces on your ribs is just a more generic part. So yeah, you can swap that out, so it'll repair.
Okay. Then I will do that. Let's get those 2 armor pieces and hopefully not get swindled again.
Yeah. Okay, give me persuasion. So a good trade this time. So for about 15 gold, you're able to not only replace the damaged piece on your armor, but you also got a piece of your own original armor back yet. No helmet, unfortunately. But yeah, you got an extra shoulder blade back. Shoulder plate back. So yeah, eventually it might be possible to find your entire armor set or have a new one made, but it does feel a bit nice to like have a little bit of piece of home. You have no luck on finding anything related to Jiro though, where his armor must have been snatched up completely by the strange individual mystery person. But,
At least I found something from mine.
Yeah.
But I wonder who took Jiro's south.
I'll also say that you managed to find some more unusual inks for your paint set as well, because you had your paint set from home, whereas this has got like some more foreign paints. So yeah, you got more opportunities here for.
Yeah.
Exactly. So with that shopping trip out of the way, give me an Arcana roll for heading home. With your shopping trip completed and with an understanding of what went wrong with your sword, you reach out towards the clouds and you ride the counterclockwise storm all the way back home to the port on the southern side of Frost. As you see the edges of the town below, the sun is already starting to set quite low. So it was an entire day's trip. But I mean, you did travel like hundreds of kilometers and like there and back in a day. So pretty good timing, speed, I would say.
Yeah, better than like a day or 2.
And this is with a broken arm, an injured leg, and injured ribs. So yeah, good job. Yeah, you arrive back in town, and where do you want to land? You want to land on the edge of town, in the town, or on the boat? Like you can aim for the Echo's boat.
Let's go for the boat.
Jackal is the first one to spot you. He waves, and he's just like, I didn't know you could fly.
Yeah, it's a thing I do now.
God, I have never regretted being born a blank more than I do right now. I've always wanted to fly. He's just waving up. You can see he's actually a lot happier now. His memories have stabilized, and he's been with his brother who's been recounting his childhood, so he knows more about his past. And yeah, so his mood overall is much more like happy. So yeah, you land on the boat and he's just like, so like, where'd you go?
I had a situation I needed to take care of, but now I know how to resolve it.
Oh, that's good. Still no sign of when this storm is coming to an end, but it has to end eventually, as all things do. And after that, we will set sail, because I was told about what you guys found on that boat. And he cracks his knuckles and he's just like, I want to find out the one responsible for this, what they were responsible for me, because if they're doing what was done to me, then those kids they should never have to go through that. And you remember he said about how he was tortured by some crazy person experimenting on him and mocking him the entire time. So yeah, he's worried that the kids might be going through the same like experience he did.
Oh no.
Yeah, you can see he's like, he was like happy, but when he talks about that, you can see like he has that same sort of feral look that Roderick had when he was beating up the crack tooth. Like you can see like the kitsune, when they get angry, they don't think. they do. So he's eager to set sail, even if it means heading back down to the bottom of the ocean.
Right. Don't worry, we'll get them back. We'll get them all back.
Good. Well, when we're ready to go, let me know. Everybody finished up like a few hours ago, so there's literally nothing else to do on the boat. I'm going to the crack seal. He makes them test the bucket. He's like, you want to join me for a drink?
I just shake my head. No, there's something I have to take care of right now.
All right, you're lost. Boys, drinks on us. Let's go. And you hear like some of the crew members going like, ah! And they start heading towards the cracked seal. that has a
Now
strange
where-
statue in front of it now of a half kitsune with 3 tails. The lower half.
Where is that pesky kitsune?
Yeah, Ken was on the Echoes, but he's technically part of the new crew, which is on Cracktooth's boat. They've pulled in that boat closer to our group, so, you know, the Echoes is in the middle, and then Jackal's boat is on the right, and the new boat is on the left.
Okay, let's boat hop.
You hop across the boat. Your injured leg does wobble a little bit when you land on the railing of the other boat, but you just manage to hold, and you use your new tails to help keep yourself balanced a little bit. You see some of the crew there, and they see you, and they're just like, hello, Captain. You're not Captain, but they call you Captain anyway.
I'm honorary captain.
Pretty much. Chief Discipline Officer.
Have any of you seen Ken around?
Oh yeah, he's downstairs. He was checking the cannons downstairs.
I rushed down to the cannons. Ken, are you down here?
Ah! Oh my goodness. Why do we keep running into each other so many times today?
There's something I have to make right. Something I have to give you. Would you like a tail?
You're messing with me.
No. I have to right the wrongs.
Really?
It's not fair to me to have your tail upon me.
I won't say no, but why? Like you know what? Don't tell me. You know what? How do we do it? How are we gonna duel? But the others are gonna think I'm gonna try and jump you again.
No, we won't be doing any duels. We're gonna do this the right way. The way that it should be.
Oh? You can lend him your special sword, and if you rest that sword against your tail, it will transfer across the spirits.
I pull my sword out of the holster, and then I spin it around and hand it over to him.
His eyes widen, like, what? Like, at first he's like, I'm gonna die, and then he's like, what are you doing? And you want me to cut off one of your tails?
Yes, go for it.
But won't that hurt?
You have my permission.
Won't it hurt without doing a duel? His hands.
It shouldn't.
His hands shake a little bit, and he's like, which one was mine? Because they all look the same now. You would know which one was his one.
It's the one on the right.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, his hands are shaking a little bit, and he rests the sword at the base of the tail that you say is his. But you can see that he's scared, which is ironic because he wanted to jump you initially, but now that the golden opportunity is in his hand, he hesitates for a brief moment. But when the sword touches the tail, you relax because you know that this is the right thing to do. And it's almost as if the sword refuses to cut through violently. Instead, the blade rests against the fur of your tail, and the tail starts to disintegrate into a swarm of spirits. They run all the way up the tail and into the edge of the blade, filling the bloodline of the blade, and the blade itself starts to absorb all of the tails. As his eyes are like absolute saucers in shock at what's happening here, because he doesn't know anything about the sword at all. He's just confused as he's watching this, and as the entire tail disappears, he holds the sword in his hand, and the entire sword is glowing, radiating with the spirits, and it slowly starts to pull towards the guard of the sword and into the handle, and then it runs all the way along his arm, similar to how the duel was initiated with the handshake. But instead of it being between two kitsune, it's entering through the hand peacefully, and it runs all the way through his chest and down to the base of his spine, and his tail regrows and forms from the spirits. And he starts sobbing. He just starts sobbing. He's missed this tail so much. It's been years. years. He tries to hand the sword back to you, but his hands are completely shaking and his face is a snotty, ugly, crying mess.
I just chuckle and slowly take the sword back.
As soon as you grab the sword, you feel the familiar warmth before radiating through. And give me a perception roll and spirit sense. For a brief moment, when you look up and you're holding the sword, you see standing behind Ken is similar to Spira's summons, when Spira summons a primal soul and it's made out of spirits and they gather in there. The sheer amount of spirits that are in the room at the moment from this transfer of tales, you see for a brief moment a man standing there with facial features that are almost nearly identical to Jiro's, but you see 9 glorious tails floating elegantly behind him, and he's wearing a fashion sense of the Celestial Den from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And you just see this figure for a brief moment as he nods in your direction, and then it's gone.
What's that? And then I go quiet and smile. Yes, this is right. This feels right.
And that's where we're gonna call it. Woo! You got the anime ending. Woo!
This is the anime ending.
Basically, Jiro's great grandfather's approval.
This is fun.
The next episode should be right here. Thanks for watching.